Get on my head.
Hello, Modified 95 family. We are back. I'm trying to consistently put out videos that are interesting and where I stay somewhat on topic. Today, I need to work on the fleet. I need to get all my babies oiled up. Just give them a quick check. I got 10 quarts of oil. They have a special deal, like they always do, to sell more stuff. Or if you get the 5-quart jug, you get an oil filter for like $4. So even though we have several oil filters, I figured why not have some spares? So I got that. So I'm gonna pull each one of my cars up and I am going to make sure the oil's full. But the purpose of this video, we are gonna take apart a transmission, just open it up. We wanna lock the diff and then get it all sealed and put back together and make sure it runs through the gears, because hopefully later today, our friend Brandon will be here so we can start an auto to manual swap where we have most to all of the pieces, except for he still needs to pick up the pedals and some other wiring just to make it a little bit easier. But let's get to that. First up on the chopping block, this is my 1997 Civic Hatchback. I run this pretty much daily, so I gotta check the oil and top it off. That's not really video worthy. I'm gonna pull out the dipstick, I'm gonna wipe it off, I'm gonna stick it back in there, see where it reads in the line, and then fill it till it hits the full dot. But just showing you what we have going here. I took a little time to clean this today, not on the outside, but it also gives me time to look them over and find a bunch of stuff. Like, it really needs to be repainted. It's kind of hard to see at this angle, but maybe down here, but the clear coat is peeling up. It's doing a lot of bubbling right here. Because I didn't paint this. We painted the engine bay and the bottom of the hood, which looks absolutely great, especially when you clean it. Even dirty, it's still nice and shiny and good, probably because it's not seeing the sun. I don't even know if we clear coated that. That could just be championship white. Same with the fenders. The fenders look good. We painted those, but the rest of the car we did not paint. But I got in there and I cleaned off the dash and just did some vacuuming, just made this car feel more like home. So I'm gonna get this one changed and then I'll pull up the next one. All right, this is the next one. This is my 1996 Civic Hatchback. I also daily drive this. I daily drive everything except for my one that registration's a little bit behind. I keep these as street legal as possible. Carb legal headers. Everything else I try to keep as stock as possible. But I had a funny thought as I got into this car and out of the other one, down there on the floorboards. Can we see this dirty window? I don't know if we can, but that's the ECU sitting right there. And it's like, isn't that just like the universal sign that it's a work in progress if the computer is not even sitting where it needs to be? The last one was about 2 quarts low. It was pretty low. I need to check these a little bit more regularly. There was a little bit of a leak, kind of on the same place as always, like over here. So it's got to be some sort of connection. I know this one right here I can see is leaking from these, which will definitely get replaced soon. It's not, but it's a very slow leak. It looks like this is pretty well sealed up. This is another real common place that these leak from. And then it manifests itself right down there, right in between the trans, kind of like where the head block and trans all meet is where you get a little puddle. And then it could also be, there's an O-ring gasket like in here behind the distributor. Sometimes those leak. So those are like the 3 things you can do is like O-ring gasket, the valve cover gasket, and sometimes this little end cam seal. But I mean, this one, it's not even anywhere dirty under there, I don't think. Yeah. All right, so let me get this one topped off before we move on to the last one that runs. My baby over here will not need a top off because that's still a work in progress, and the engine's all together and just sitting waiting to go. All right, perfect. My housemate Zero is stripping down that D16 that I blew, and just every bolt that we can reuse, every sensor that's interchangeable between B series, we're taking that off. And as soon as we can get that off of the engine stand, we can get that GSR up. We're getting closer and closer. I'm trying to build suspense just because I don't have time to get this onto that engine stand so we can slowly start taking the thing apart. I'm really hoping that the head end is still golden and the bottom end's just busted because I already have a line on a new bottom end. So here we go. All right, so back to what we're doing. See, that was a good segue. I didn't get too distracted. Last car, the 96, I free poured the oil through the funnel, and when I went to check the oil, it was perfect, and I don't think that I have ever done that before. I just wanted you guys to hear about it. So this one, we're gonna check the oil, we're gonna check the coolant. This one's a workhorse. I don't get to drive this one every day. I'm just trying to work the bugs out so I can hit the state ref and get my barge sticker. Everything should be golden. It should be all dialed in. So I got a stupid check engine light for don't know what. but we're definitely figured out. So I'm gonna get this one all oiled up, and then we'll flash over to that motor that's coming apart real quick. They're just salvaging, and then we'll get working on that transmission. And this is what I mean by coming apart. I'm always trying to get practice in there, and so I took the head off. It's sitting over on the workbench, and then we're just stripping this down to a bare block. We took out like the oil pump bolts, all the bracket bolts, anything that, you know, Honda bolts are Honda bolts, and they're valuable and we need them. So it's better to have them than having to pay someone $30 for 3 bolts that, you know, you threw away on accident on a failed project. All right, all my babies are oiled up. That last one's a 2000. I know it's hard to tell because it's got the 2000 rear end with the taillights, as does that 97 next to it. And the front end, I actually swapped with a good friend of mine because he wanted the 99 2000 and I wanted the true like CTR look like the first one. So I have like the lights and the lip and all kinds of stuff to go on here later. But now that's clear. My housemate's car, his is all oiled up and ready to go. But now the driveway's clear, which is going to allow us to get to our friend Brandon's car when it gets here. This is that D series. I keep trying to get my roommate to put it into the recycle bin because it's scrap metal, it's recyclable, but apparently they won't be able to lift it because they do it by hand and not by the machine. But this is the last thing we're going to focus on today, and I'm going to talk about the stuff generally, and then we'll do it, and then we'll cut back. My tripod, still don't have one. I need to find another one, a cost-effective one. So in lieu of making this video super duper long, I'd like 20 minutes or less with all the maintenance and this included. But this is just an LS trans that we're going to open up. I'm going to make sure the gears are good because I don't want to sell this to my friend and it not be good inside, or like even install it and not be good. If not, we can swap over to that blue one. I don't know, people like to paint LS transmissions blue, but it's fine as long as they work inside. I like the color of this one. It's like a darker SI blue. Got a little purple in there. I don't know. But this came from somebody up north. He had the H to B swap that he was running this on. So he had a nice H22. This really cool show car he was showing me. But he was probably going K series. And at one point, something came off and cut the inside of this. But the rest of the transmission should be all fine. So we will open it up. We got new seals for this. These ones don't even look that bad. But you know, just want this to be as maintenance free as possible. And then we have a little phantom locker sitting around here that I will show later once we get this open, that we're going to slide into the differential and lock it. All my cars are locked. My housemate's car is locked, and we never have problems with it. I don't have problems at low speeds. I don't have problems turning. It's just poor man's LSD. All right, here we go. I had to answer that age-old question, is this thing loaded? And yes, it definitely was. So oil started pulling out. So we are sitting this on a bucket after I cleaned up the oil and putting that bag below if any more is going to drip. And we're using the bucket because we don't want to push up on the, I want to say input shaft is what we're looking for. Yep. But we're going to start taking this apart. I think that there's a cap that needs to come off, which I think just fits a half-inch socket or breaker bar. So that will break on out. And then there's a bunch of bolts, I think, that are 14s? 12. So a bunch of 12-inch bolts that will come off around here. And then once all those bolts are off, and once that cap is off, I know there's a, I want to say, snap ring that you need to compress and then gently work up, and then this whole shell should come off. So when I come back, we will have that off. I forgot to mention this. This is also a good time to upgrade these. These will just be, I'm pretty sure, just the stock ones, but these are called detent springs, and there's these little ball bearings that sit behind them. Don't lose these. If we lose some of those bolts, we have extras. If we lose these, do not lose these. Right, so like I was saying, this is how this comes off. You just put that in there and turn it. There's also one other bolt you take off there, and then those are where these two springs go. I think it's on the bottom side. Oh, almost lost that piece. All right, it should be open in a second. All right, so then the top pops right off like this. You can see it's a little dark in here, but I think everything looks okay. Let's look at these gears. I'm not really seeing anything super crazy. What do you see? A little rough, a little hard shifted?
No, it's normal.
Oh, okay. It's normal, everybody?
They're manufactured with these divots.
Okay. So we'll try to take these out as one piece. Don't make them fall apart. That means I don't get to touch them. I did that last time. We had to reassemble them back in the correct order, which is painstaking. This is one thing that I can take care of to my skill set. I need to clean out this magnet. Oh. Yeah, but I'm gonna clean up this magnet. This is like a lifesaver. This catches all that possible metal shavings as they flow by back here. It just grabs onto them. So I'll clean that before we put it back together. This is definitely a messy job, but you'll take out the gear selector and the reverse selector.
Yeah, reverse gear.
Yeah, reverse gear. And then we're gonna put all this stuff on a towel, and we're just making sure we don't lose any of the bolts. We keep everything as together as possible. This is what's going on. The transmission does not need to be open for these, but one of these is bigger than the other one. That's how it's supposed to be. And then this is that phantom locker. What it's gonna do is it's gonna go in here, then we pull off these clips on the side, and there's springs that it expands, and it's gonna lock it. So both wheels are gonna rip together at the same time, which makes for an awesome driving experience. I can't even imagine what it'd be like to have one of those like $600 ones. That's an actual limited slip, but for like 40 to 60 bucks, this should definitely work. Okay, 100% didn't need time lapse for that. So that's probably gonna blow by in a blink of an eye. That was like taking out all the gears. And then this is the differential that we were trying to get to. Nice and oily. What do you got there?
Nastiness.
Bam. And so yeah, we're gonna have to remove, we'll have to hammer out this pin right here. And then this has to fit in there with that pin in between. And I think only once in every time that I've ever been a part of this procedure has it ever just slid right in. I think it was on a D series, but every B series we end up having to shave down to like the letters.
And you gotta drive this pin out first, and then we can slide that one out.
Oh, there's a smaller pin that has to be driven out. Then the big pin comes out, but then sometimes we have to shave this bottom and top gear in there to fit the locker in there. But there's no welding, and this isn't permanent, so you could definitely take this out. It would just...
And go back to normal.
Yeah, and go back to normal, but who wants to be basic, right? I feel like everyone who watches this channel has probably seen the inside of this. It's kind of sludgy, so I definitely want to clean this out. Just doesn't need to be in here. It should be relatively clean in here. I mean, there's not really anything broken in here, which is good. And I'll make sure I pick off all these little bits of silicone that it was lined with, just to make sure this is nice and clean. And so we'll get this seal back to being clean, so it's ready to take more silicone, and the case is ready to close. But no, everything looks good. Everything's all spinny the way it should be. There's a lot of sludge in here. Like, I did a good job cleaning out that magnet that was sitting right here. This is it now, but the whole thing was coated with just like a little piece of metal and probably dirt too that's connected to it, that bonds onto it. Yeah, but look at these big pieces of sludge down here. You see that? But I'm gonna clean all that out before the diff goes back in. Let's get my wipe on. All right, so when I see you again, we'll have that piece, the phantom locker, and the differential, and we'll start reassembling this. This will probably do in time lapse. All right, this is when things get crazy. When you open stuff up, you get to check to see what's inside of it and how it works. This just happened to be really dirty. Not that this is a clean place that you would eat off of to begin with, but it should just be like oil, and it should be like, you know, taking care of any dirt or any impurities that get in there, which it was doing. So, like I said, I cleaned out that magnet. Oop, I still need to wipe that out a little bit more, and I got to finish getting off the silicone. I got to get a razor blade because I don't want to mess up that surface. I want to keep it as smooth as possible. But also, as I come over here, so this is the top half. You can see things in here like you can see in here that snap ring down there. That's the one we had to open up so that we could pop this top off. But then, like, after I cleaned all the grease off of here, so there's very little like junk in here, and I think that's the fill plug and that's the drain plug. But I saw this, I'm like, oh dang, it's cracked right there. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I'm pointing the wrong thing. Bang, you see that? It's cracked right there. And then so I looked out here, and there's one single bolt in this front thing. So as long as this bolt stays in, this doesn't leak. And so, I mean, it's not worth throwing away a whole transmission, because it definitely wasn't leaking. It was holding all the fluid that was in there when we opened this bad boy up. So I'll have to make sure that I tell my friend that, so that he knows not to bust that bolt out of there for any reason.
So now time to mod these things.
All right, so this is the time when modification happens with all those gears in there.
Right.
And
this top half is what we grind off.
This top half is gonna be smoothed out, and that's gonna allow us to fit this in here. Yeah, so to get this big pin that holds everything in, you have to remove this small pin, and that's a pretty quick task, except when two things happen. One, you have to make a custom tool, which I think this was made out of an Allen wrench. So you cut just to leave it straight. And then this piece broke, but there's still enough of it where it should go in and do its job, which is just holding this. I don't even think you need to put that pin back in. We will, but no, you have to apparently. I can't.
Remember, that thing's spinning.
This thing is.
Centrifugal force would just throw the other big pin out.
This thing is spinning, so centrifugal force would throw this one out. See, I can't just re-engineer what Honda has done. But see, I have everything laid out, like the gears inside, so this is going to stay here and stay clean. Trying to make clean surfaces. I mean, obviously we're working outside. You can see we're sitting in the garage. Just got word that our friend got the trailer, but he lives way out of town, so I don't know how much longer it's going to take him to get here, but this video will be over and done before he even does. So this is where we're sitting right now.
Get on my head. 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 Get on my head.
All right, so not to overload you guys, I was happy to get that maintenance done. My baby's over there. And then with Zero really taking the lead on this, we were able to get this all back together, to run it through the gears to make sure it was shifting, and make use of my wife's old busted rim to make sure that the input shaft wasn't getting pressure. So this all went back together correctly. And we sealed up with some silicone, got all the bolts back in it. Somehow we lost 2 bolts, but we have other transmissions, so we got it. I showed before that the pin broke in the differential, and that's floating around somewhere. It's just gonna get thrown away. It serves no purpose now, but I had this differential I had bought because I thought it was a limited slip differential, but I don't read things very well with my ADHD, and my mind just fills in details that are not actually there. So this is actually a Civic EX transmission out of a D series, but we were able to use the pin out of that to fix this differential. So everything should be good about this. It's drying and ready for Brandon. So as soon as he pulls up, we will start taking things apart. I would love to have this in today, but I don't think it'll be possible. I know it won't be possible to have it running today because we don't have the pedals here. They're about like an hour, no, probably an hour and a half away. When we have to be removed from the car they're on, that's just sitting there in the field, but it'll all be good. Thank you for sticking with us today. It's cool to get some more videos out, and I hope that you enjoy it. When my housemate gets back from getting lunch, we took a little break for lunch when this video wrapped. We're gonna get that GSR up on the engine stand. Even though we probably won't do any work on it today, it'll just be in the place it needs to be in for all the work to happen for those videos to come. All right, see you guys later.